How you doing today? I hope you're doing really well. I'm just out on another walk. It's really hot outside, so I'm not going to be doing any of these videos outside for a while. But before I went out, I thought I'd do a quick video. This one is on the victim mentality, and I want to talk about this from a couple of different aspects. I want to talk about it from other people sort of foisting their victim mentality on you, and you being a victim for yourself, right? Beliefs of any victim mentality are bad stuff keeps happening to me. That's one of the first beliefs, that just shit happens in life and that's it. The second belief is that you're powerless to change, right? So what's the point? The third victim mentality attitude or belief is that you're always going to be the blame is always on somebody else. It's not on yourself. It's on other people, not yourself. It's on other circumstances and not yourself. So bad stuff keeps happening. You're powerless to change and you're powerless to stop those bad things happening. So what's the point? And you're not to blame. Other people are to blame, circumstances and all that kind of stuff. Now for me, this is an attitude, whether it's other people's attitudes towards themselves or your attitude. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of dealing with life, and it's a really bad way of dealing with life. Now, when I'm talking about the victim mentality with other people, I'm talking about, they're the ones that are the most harmed, because people will walk away from them, right? I've had lots of victims in my life. I've been a victim myself, right? The victim mentality. I've been underneath that cosh in my life, and for me, it comes down to that, the locus of control again. Interior locus of control means you're in control and you control a lot of stuff. You control a lot about how you respond to things outside of yourself that you cannot control, that you've got no control over. So having a locus of control, or being in that locus of control, means that if you're down that end, that most people down that end don't have a victim mentality, right? They look at themselves for anything that is happening in their lives. They look at how they can change themselves. They look at how they can change the responses that they're doing. The other end of that is the external locus of control. So locus just means place. It means the place where you place your control, where you think the control lies in your life. So if you've got a negative or an external locus of control, it means that you think that other things control you. You think that other people control you. You think the more down that spectrum you go, the less control you think you've got all over your life. It's very negative. It leads you to a regressive life. This is what I was always talking about when I was talking about my alcohol use when I was drinking alcohol, or when I was trying to get through my life when I was drinking alcohol. It was always one step forwards and two steps back. That's what I'm talking about, the regressive life. For me, it's a sad life, and it's a repressive life. I mean, you can't. Victim mentality is a negative mentality, and it infiltrates everything. You integrate the victimhood into all parts of your life, all parts of your thinking, all parts of your being, right? So it's very difficult to get away from that when you don't change that mentality. Do you get what I mean? So as I say, it's a repressive mentality because it pushes down the happiness, it pushes down the good things in your life, right? These are people who don't take responsibility for themselves. They don't seek possible solutions because they're not taking full responsibility for themselves, and then they feel powerless. They have negative sort of thoughts. They self-sabotage a lot, and it really gives a battering to their self-confidence or their self-control. It just feeds them with anxiety, with frustration, with resentment for other people, for other things around them. This victim mentality is, but you see it everywhere nowadays. I mean, it's just it's rife. It's just everywhere you look, there is somebody who is trying to be a victim. There is, because of racism, because of people are saying, well, they're victims if they're overweight nowadays. They're saying they're victims if they're a certain nationality, if they're a certain race, if they're a certain it's going to get down to a certain point where short people are going to say they're victims of tall people, that ugly people are going to say they're victims of good-looking people. I believe in that you should have, there should be equality of opportunity starting out with, right? So opportunity of life, you get the same opportunity, the same political opportunity, the same opportunity to build a business, for instance. But opportunity of outcome, that's a victim mentality attitude, and it can never get to that, because how are you going to make it? How am I going to get onto the basketball pitch, for instance, or what do they call it? I'll stick to football. How am I going to get onto the football pitch and say, well, I want to play as well as Messi? And the only way I can play as well as Messi, or the only way I can beat Messi, I can never play as well as Messi. The only way I can beat Messi is to go onto the pitch and have somebody break both of Messi's legs, and then I can beat him, right? That's equal outcome. So, it's just impossible for anyone to get to that stage. So, like I say, it just breeds anxiety, it breeds frustration, it breeds resentment. We've made, at this stage in this journey, I don't know how many days this is going to go up at, it's well over 200, maybe 250, 200, it's heading towards 300 days now, I think. And we've made so much. By the time you get to this stage in your journey, you've made so many changes at this point. So this proves that you're not a victim, that the deck is stacked in your favor only because you were the one that shuffled the deck. You were the one that got out there and you took control of things, that you made things happen in your life, right? So things that I've learned about victims, or trying to eradicate victimhood from my life. It starts on a personal level, I think. We'll go into that in a minute. But I also think as well it starts from the perspective that you're not surrounding yourself by victims. When you're surrounding yourself by victims, it tends to rub off on you a little bit. Birds of a feather flock together. There's a saying that, you can tell a lot about a person by their 4 closest friends, or the people that they hang around with most, right? So I avoid people with victim mentalities if at all possible. And if I can't avoid them, I try and set boundaries. I won't listen to certain things. I won't listen to pity talk. I won't listen to, there's a lot of things that I won't listen to in my life, and I'm not going to go into them in depth here because, they're just, it's that victimhood that I don't like. Anyone who's saying, well, you should do this, or you could do this, or you why didn't you do this, or, this is the way that they would have done things, or there's a lot of different aspects to this, right? So now I'm not saying that I don't want to help people. If I have the opportunity to help people, the people that I love in my life, right? And there's very few of them, right? Let me tell you, there's very few people who I will offer this help to outside of my professional life. I spend my life trying to help people now stopping drinking alcohol, and I love that work. I think, but I can't help people unless they want to be helped. There has to be a prerequisite of me trying to help them, because if they don't want to be helped, I'm wasting my time. And it's the same thing. You should also look at this in your own life. So I always offer to help people if I can, if the people that I love, or if it's in my job, right? I encourage, or I validate people when these same people, when they're taking positive actions in their lives, or when they're showing that they're doing positive thinking. The best thing I can do in my whole life, and I've realized this, I understood this from the beginning, was to lead by example. I think if you can show other people what it means and what the outcomes are going to be when you choose not to be a victim and you choose not to lead that life. I think that's the biggest teaching method that you can have. People would respond to that much better than you telling them how to do anything. It's how you live your life, and it's the outcomes that people see, especially if they know you for a long time and they see where you came from, and how you've made those changes and what those changes have resulted in, the consequences of those changes. So, but otherwise, like I said, I refuse to be around victims. It's not my responsibility, unless I make it my responsibility, and then it's my choice. And I think that's the way that you have to look at these things, right? So, in terms of your own victimhood, No one can save us but ourselves. I think the Buddha said something along those lines, right? It's our life, it's our choices, it's our behaviors, our actions, right? It's your journey, so you might as well think big. You might as well take your journey now and start saying to yourself, well, this is how I'm going to do this from now on, right? This is where I'm going to go. And I'm talking about thinking big from the perspective of think as big as you can right now, because I guarantee you in a year's time, if you keep pushing yourself forwards, that the ideas that you can think of and that idea of thinking big and thinking better will be better. You'll be able to think bigger, if you get what I mean. It's in your power to do this, right? It's in your power to do it or to not do it, right? It's in your power to be the victim or not to be the victim. It's in your power to push yourself forwards and to keep moving forwards day by day by day. Slow progress is the best way of doing this, right? You know what to do. You're not making too much of an advance that you can't pull back very easily. So it's in your power to do this or it's in your power not to do this, right? You can practice positive thinking on a day-to-day life as part of your journey to move upwards, right? As part of your journey to move to that best version of yourself. You get to choose to write your own story. I don't allow anyone or anything to dictate it for you. So listen, take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you in the next video. All right, take care of yourself. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.